This is Dr. Kevin McGovern, and we are live late at 6 o'clock or after 6:29, 6:30 for our 20th episode of our Prove It Live podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my
Kevin McGovern,
co-host,
live late.
Mike Frary.
And you're playing back.
Not anymore. I fixed it.
We're so on point today. It's awesome. So welcome, everybody, to the Prove It Live podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Frary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with Dr. Kevin McGovern there of sports. Perfect Motion Sports Therapy. You threw me off my game. Totally threw me off my game. And our producer at large, and you know the rest, Ryan Gagne, Gagne Frutis, Gagne West. So today is our 20th episode. So we're excited about that. It's sort of I guess it's a big deal-ish, right? So
it's one more than we had last week.
Yeah, so we come also at a special time. We're normally at 11:30, and we're supposed to have two baseball games this morning, and that's why we had to move the podcast really late. And consequently, both games got rained out. Kevin had already adjusted his schedule accordingly, and so here we are. And by the way, good thing we didn't play because it was like 30 degrees here in the Boston area, 30 degrees with the wind chill. It was just not a good day for baseball. Anyway, so we're excited to kick off our 20th episode. We got some cool topics. We're doing a couple things a little bit differently tonight on our question and our why would you do that, but we think they're pretty cool and pretty fun. And that being said, Gagne Frutis, top of the order. What are we kicking off with?
So we're going to start off, as high school baseball starts to kick up here in Massachusetts next week. Tryouts start next Monday, which is the 26th, right? So, kids are coming back from school vacation this week.
Yep.
Going into high school tryouts starting next week, excluding some of the private schools that have already been playing for a few weeks now. But, the public schools here in Massachusetts are kicking off next week. So we want to talk about, overworking guys early on in the season, overuse, and how to prevent certain things like that.
Yeah. It's as I just said, we're supposed to have a game here, two games actually this morning, but it was, super cold. And, normally the high school season's well underway. Here in Massachusetts, the third Monday in March is the day for tryouts. And their season starts with games, I think, the first week of April. And we typically here for travel ball, I think, in the entire Northeast also start around the first week of April. And, weather pending. We hardly ever get out that very first week. But, we have we're proud of this. We really work hard to try to get our kids ready for tryouts. And so, Kevin, I know you work with a lot of pitchers too. So a lot of these high schools, and I was really kind of shocked to hear this. That this is not every high school, so we're generalizing a little bit here, but a lot of the ones that we work with in the surrounding towns, the high school coaches are expecting their pitchers to throw anywhere between 50 to 65 pitches off of a mound for tryouts. And it got me thinking, I'm like, shoot, we really work to build our pitchers up to get to that number. I know, there's some programs out there that will also train their kids, but I know there's a lot that won't. They're not intended. They're not built that way. They don't intend to. And there has to be kids out there, right? Kids that just aren't really getting the training, kids, especially kids that maybe play multiple sports or maybe baseball's not their main thing or whatever the case might be. Is that not a lot of pitches, Kev, to like sort of just come out like in March, is just fresh out the box to be thrown?
Absolutely. Especially there's kids now that obviously play multiple sports. So you could be coming off your winter sports season playing basketball. Next thing you got to do is get on the mound and throw 60 pitches. So, obviously there's blame for the coaches, but what about the stupid dates?
Yeah.
Like pitchers take longer to develop or get ready. Why is the tryout date the same for pitchers as it is for everybody else? Why are we not trying people out in February just to look at people so the kids can get ready? Why is there this arbitrary date that one season stops and the other starts? Is that not dangerous in itself? And who made those? And who made those dates?
And why? I think part of it too is like because years ago, and I'm talking 20 plus years ago, maybe the high school coach could have optional workouts, in the off season if the kids weren't playing another sport.
Right.
They'd work out and train.
And even
And
if
now
they were, what's the big deal? What is it?
well,
I don't understand what the
but
big
you
deal
can't
is.
now. You can't now.
Why?
It's against. I don't know. It's against MIAA rules.
Yeah, league rules exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But with all these rules, why? So you can't shoot a basketball one day and throw a baseball the next. Why?
Yeah, but it's not about health. It's about, I think it was about, if you have a coach that's extra motivated and wants to put in the extra time, he can train his team to be better in the fall leading up to the springtime. Whereas other coaches maybe don't want to put in that time. And so it's somehow unfair to the kids. I don't know that's all of it. I do know that was part of the reason that they did that, which is why now I think the rule is a coach can't be with more than 30% of his roster at any given time before the third Monday in March, or in this case, in the year in 2021, the third Monday in April. And it's crazy. It's interesting because I don't look at high school coaches aren't going to develop players, and that's not on them. They can't. They don't have the time. They're with them for such a short amount of time, and they got to get right into games. Like they've got, I think, 2 weeks to get tryouts, and they have 2 weeks, and then boom, they're right into the middle of their season. Like they're off and running. This year, I think they're only going to get 12 games in or something. But yeah, they just don't have the time to do it. They're not allowed to really work with them in the off season. So I mean,
technically, aren't they forced into seeing 60 pitches? I mean, if in 2 weeks from today there's a game against the rival high school and you got to throw your number one starter out there, he can't throw 30 pitches. You don't have that many players that can. I mean, what does a high school team carry for, actual pitchers who can get outs? 4, 5?
Yeah, it depends on the high school. I think obviously the private schools are able to do a better job of it. They just
right. So if you have 3 games in a week, where do you get the pitching from?
Right. Well, that's the thing. You need. The high schools that end up making it pretty far to the state championships, and the state championship here in Massachusetts is called the Super 8. Those are the teams with a lot of arms. I mean, not coincidentally. I mean, that's obviously, other teams that just, don't have that depth in pitching. They're not going to go very far. I just think that the 65 pitches fresh out the box to get a look at somebody is a little extreme. I mean,
agreed.
Can you not see what you get out of a pitcher after seeing 20 pitches? I mean, 20 pitches, right?
Yeah.
So, and like I said, it goes back to the rules as well, as why there should be something organized again, because every high school league is going to be all about pitch count. They're going to be all about pitch safe. All these different programs that are supposed to be protecting the kids. And then they are in their good spirit. They are trying
but you don't let them run in November, December, January, and February.
Right. Or have a program, not letting, but having a program that really builds them up and builds up their arm strength and their stamina. Because, one of the things I wanted to talk about with the high school season, especially up here in the Northeast, is, and I don't know how you feel about this, Kevin, but I think I've said this for a long time. I think that the pitch count, while a noble attempt to try to prevent injuries, can often have a negative effect. It can provide a false sense of safety, because it's more than just the pitch count. Let's say it's 85 a week, which I think is what it is in MIAA. It might be a little bit higher than that actually, but let's say it's 85 for the sake of argument. Are you going to go and throw 80 pitches, your second game out in April when it's 42 degrees? You can't do that. Like, the weather has an effect, right? I mean, the colder it is, the more likely you are to stiffen up and get injured. There's stressful pitches. How about if you're throwing 40 pitches in one inning? Well, your pitch count should no longer be 85. You got to get that kid out of there, right? Yeah. And then, there's a kid on third base, the tying run and how many pitches don't, with that mental stress, all those things. Do they not play a factor?
They all play a factor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. And
there's no ramp up. So basically, high schools are governing when kids can do things, but they're depending on other professionals, such as you guys, to get their kid ready, right? Because where else are they getting work?
Yeah, I think
so. They're relying on travel ball programs or these velocity centers.
I think they're relying on the individuals.
Yeah, and they get these kids ready to pitch, right?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of leave it in the kids' hands to be ready, and I get that to a point too. It's like, hey, you're not not a child anymore. You're not 12. Take ownership of your development and your own health. I get that to a degree, but they're still kids. They're high school kids. A lot of them don't understand. They might not know what it takes to ramp up. This was less of an issue when we were playing 30 years ago, because no matter what season it was, we were throwing stuff a lot, right? We were constantly just throwing. And as we've talked about before on this show, is that we think that, at least I think that, I don't speak for everybody, but I believe we're in agreement that kids, it's not that kids pitch too much. They pitch too much and don't throw enough. So they don't throw, leading up to their starts. They don't throw in between their starts. And again, there's more to it than just the build up to tryouts, as you know, Kevin. It's, what are these kids doing in between games? Are they throwing bullpens? Are they monitored? Are they playing outside? They're not supposed to play outside of high school, but to the point, I just think that there has to be, we're just stuck in this same, it's no new information. It's the same information we had 10 years ago. It's just pitch count. Pitch count has proven to at least not be the answer. Not that it's not effective. It's definitely not the answer, because we continue to see injuries rise, which we're going to actually talk about one later in the show. But, just thought it was something that needed to be talked about, because, we see it every day. I mean, if we have a kid that doesn't deal with something in the first 2 weeks of the season, I'm talking about a pitcher, this will be the first spring in several years for that to happen. And I know that the overuse early on with the cold weather, all the above, with the anxiety and stress too, of like, I got to make a team, so I got to throw this as hard as I can. I got to show a coach how hard I throw it. It's it could be a dangerous recipe overall. But anyway, so what else do we want to talk about in the news there, Gagne Fructis? We're going to talk about the ball.
Yeah, heading into the season, Major League Baseball had come out and flat out said that they are implementing a quote unquote dead end ball, and it was to try to drive down home run rates and create more of a small ball kind of atmosphere that they wanted to try to get back to, but right now we're not seeing a huge drop off. It's down slightly, but it's not a huge drop off that they were looking at. In fact, it's really kind of driving up the contact, the lack of contact rate, and the strikeout rate for pitchers as well. So it's kind of having the negative effect of what they want. They wanted more offense, but more small ball offense, and it's actually leading to more swings and misses.
Kevin, do you believe that? And
just for the record, doesn't Major League Baseball own Rawlings? Right? They own the baseballs?
I don't think so.
No, yeah. I'll check a look into that.
Look that up, Ryan. Major League Baseball bought Rawlings.
Absolutely. Look it up.
Interesting.
Don't let the physical therapists, trump you baseball guys, but I believe they do.
That's interesting. Well, here's my point is,
you know what? Wow. The company was acquired by Seidler Equity Partners and MLB Properties, Newell Brands, in June of 2018 for $395 million.
There you go.
Wow.
So right there's a conflict of interest. But look, if we want to talk small ball, we have to talk about what we talked about today. We've got something that's affecting batting average, that's affecting the game, and that's called the shift. Okay? And these guys, all they have to do twice a week is hit the ball the other way on the shift, and we have small ball.
Right. So, and it doesn't happen. So I'm going to go back to my question. Do you even believe that Major League Baseball wants small ball?
Absolutely not. They want the home run.
Of course they do.
Of
course they do.
They want the home runs, but they don't want... They
want strikeouts and the home run, because 10 strikeouts are exciting, and so is 4 bombs in a game. All exciting.
What were you going to say, Ryan? They want what?
Yeah, I think I was going to disagree with the fact that they want strikeouts. I think they want more contact, and I do believe they want more offense in the game, and to have it be just a different type of offense and make it more interesting for the casual fan. Right now, the casual fan is looking at it as, it's a boring game. Right? And we've talked about that in the past.
Well, it's home run derby in your backyard. You just, the wiffle ball hit the chair, you're out, or you hit a home run. Either way, that's pretty much it, right?
Right, 100%. Yep.
I think this comes from, and I don't know this for my opinion, is that part of this comes from the players' union, right? And some pressure from the players' union and pitchers, in Major League Baseball that, look, this is their livelihood, right? I mean, so if everything is being catered to the hitters, And we talked about this last week, right? Where the Atlantic League moving the mound back 1 foot. That's a blatant move to make things more advantageous to the hitter yet again, right? So I think part of it is maybe they're getting a little sort of fed up. But there's no way, like, I don't think the casual fan enjoys small ball. I really don't. Like, I don't think they understand it. The casual fan, they want to see balls launched. I mean, look at what the home run derby draws. I mean, ratings in terms of Major League Baseball, like I know there's been years or where if they haven't exceeded the ratings of the All-Star game, they're at least like been right there, right? So,
I would argue that, and I don't disagree with that. I would argue that the casual fan also doesn't want to just see a bunch of punch outs, right? They would rather see, a flashy defensive play, a nice double play, or Mookie Betts laying out for a ball in right field and making the ESPN web gem, right? And seeing top plays like that. You don't see anything on ESPN for top plays with a guy striking somebody out. That doesn't happen.
That's true.
Right?
So but then again, we don't want these guys to move too much left or right, or they'll end up on the injury list.
Well, yeah. Well, plus I disagree with that. I think you see a lot of those highlights. You see like someone like a Verlander going and striking someone with a slider that breaks 2 feet, makes someone look silly, and they spin around in circles in the batter's box. But I just don't understand.
They highlight it, but it's not an ESPN top play, right? As opposed to Mike Trout climbing the wall and robbing a home run, or charging the ball and laying out, right? I think again that's a more exciting play for the casual fan.
It is.
The contact rate would need to be up for that, and it's not. It's down.
It is down. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, look. At the end of the day, a big reason why the home runs are up is because of how hitters train now. It's also a way that pitchers approach hitters now. They approach them a different way. So yeah, I mean, you see a lot more hitters now. If you look back in like the late 80s, early 90s, you had a lot of guys are off the plate, right? And now guys are on top of the plate. They're in the back of the box, on the inside part of it, which is essentially when you do that as a hitter, you take the outside pitch away. There's nothing that you have to let get so deep that you have to hit it to right field. You're working center gap and over as a righty and the opposite for a lefty. And, when you have the type of bat speed that some of these guys do, and you match it with a 97 mile an hour, 98 mile an hour fastball, the ball's going to go. I don't care what the seams are like. I don't care if there's fins on it, that's still, it's not staying in the park. But
these guys are throwing higher now. You watch
that's
these
what
pitchers,
I'm saying.
They're throwing higher in the zone, and these guys can't catch up to it.
That's right. So if you look at a real interesting tidbit, I don't know if we ever talked about this, but so actually a company here in Massachusetts, in Natick, was the company that started. So if you watch MLB, you see like the strike zone on your TV. So that began as and some people might already know this, but that began as a technology to rate umpires and to see how well they were calling balls and strikes. And they tested it, and they secretly put it in like 8 ballparks. No one knew what ballparks they were in.
It's called Quest Tech, right?
Quest Tech, boom, exactly.
Yeah, how about that?
Good job. And so what Quest Tech found was that the strike zone had been turned on its side. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up here. So this is what the strike zone looked like.
Left or right, not up and down.
This, yeah. Yep. So they were giving. And look, if you look at,
that's a great drawing, Mike.
Thank you, buddy.
Really, that's impressive.
That's top notch. Yeah. I know. Thank you.
That was awesome.
You know what? Actually, I should probably frame this. You know what? I'm gonna hold on to that. Hold on. I'll sign it first. Let me sign it.
Yeah, definitely sign it.
So if you watch, and I'll upset a lot of baseball fans by saying this, but I think that Greg Maddux was wildly overrated. And it was before that because he pitched in that era where if you go back and you watch some of his strikeouts, he was getting literally 1.5 feet off the corner, literally like this far off the corner. And who's going to hit that? Now, the argument to that is he was also getting nothing above the kneecaps, so the thighs, like the thigh was about as high as they would go. And so that was one of the things that they wanted to do is correct that. And the result was, making the strike zone, bringing it back to what it's supposed to be, which is the width of the plate, including the black, and then, to the letters, to the top of the knees. And I don't know if you remember, but Barry Zito won a Cy Young like very shortly thereafter because he had that big high
curveball that dropped in. Probably looked like a ball, but hit the top of the zone.
Well, he'd throw a fastball up, right, and it would be and it would be like right in the zone, and then he'd come back with that curveball, and they're ready to swing because that high pitched fastball is now a strike, and boom, they swing right over the top of it. So, but yeah, so that was a major change to the game, obviously, right there. Was changing that strike zone, and right after that, we know what came right after that, which was the something known now as the steroid era, right? The home runs started flying out of the park at record pace. How long did how many years was it Babe Ruth had the record for home runs in a season? Or not Babe Ruth, Maris. 50 ish, right?
Oh,
something
least,
like that.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then all of a sudden, someone smashes it, blows it out of the water, and then was only 2 years later or whatever that right? That Bonds.
Yeah, 98 was when McGuire and Sosa had the home run battle, and then Barry Bonds hit 73 in 2002, 2003. I'm looking it up right here. 2001. Okay, so 3 years later.
Yeah. So that didn't last long enough. And even the year that McGuire did it, right? So what did Sosa end up with? 66 that year? Was that 1998, right? Sosa McGuire. So he broke that old record as well, literally in the same year. Yeah. And I think at that time, right? I mean, everyone sort of knew Major League Baseball was kind of looking the other way, right? Because it put butts back in the seats. I mean, that was exciting baseball.
Yeah.
Regardless, but anyway, at the end of the day, and they're trying. Baseball's trying. They're doing all these new things. We talked about them last week in our top of the order. But I think the casual fan wants to see baseball, just real baseball, right? I mean, you've got harder throwers. Well, at least allegedly, harder throwers now than you've ever had on the average, right? I mean, I don't think middle relievers in the 90s were throwing, 94, 95 plus. But those were reserved for closers. So you're going to see a lot of strikeouts. You're going to see big bombs, really hard hit balls. What's the average exit velocity? Well, I think we looked at it last time. It was like 92, right? Approximately 92 miles an hour. Yeah. I wish we knew what that was. 10 years ago would have been it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah. I mean, I like as of right now, and this is again, we're only about a month or so into the season, right? There are 56 players in Major League Baseball that have an average exit velocity over 90 miles an hour. The highest being Aaron Judge at 97.8.
What's the average look up the average fastball in Major League Baseball. Kev, what's your guess of what that is now?
93.5.
It's a good guess. I'll go 93.7. I'm going to play the
you're going to little Prices Right on me?
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to know what the average is currently?
Yes. Okay. Average current Major League fastball.
Yeah, Jamie Moore is out of the league, so you might be right.
Actually, if I went Prices Right, I would have bet $1. I would have said 1 mile an hour.
I'm trying to find it here. I can tell you that as of again this season right now, there are 42 players who average over 90 mile an hour. I'm sorry, that is incorrect. That's a
waste of our time.
I just got 10 seconds. I'll never get back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything I just said.
Why don't you just tell me what the number is?
This is actually, it's funny. That is, those are pitchers that are hitting the ball over 90 miles an hour when they make contact with it.
That's a pretty interesting stat.
Yeah.
That is.
How much longer is the day? I want you to keep looking at that, Brian, because that's important. Kevin, how much longer is the DH stay in National League?
I got to tell you, after these, very aggressive, crazy rules of putting someone at second base and still having the DH may never be changed in the National League. If you're not that now, 2020 was the time to change to keep it that way, and they didn't do it. I mean, pitchers are hurt enough; they don't need to be running. They don't need to be running down first base. They don't need to be doing any of that. And listen, they're automatic outs anyway. It's like there's no reason to have it. There's really no need to have it. They don't. Yeah.
There's the baseball purists that really like it, and I'm not a fan. I'd rather see a DH everywhere too. And again, there's a perfect example of you want more offense. There you go. There's an easy rule, right? Make the DH Major League make it across Major League Baseball.
Right.
That's not so hard.
But like in my team's case, could we DH for multiple players?
Right.
So for 2020,
Like the DH for Aaron Hicks.
Yeah, right. 2021 so far, there are 182 major league pitchers that are averaging 90-mile-an-hour fastball or up. Okay, with the highest. Anybody have a guess at who the top guy is?
Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
Is it Glasnow?
Nope.
Oh, Walker Buehler.
That was number 10.
Walker Buehler.
Bueller is
Bueller
not either. The
Really?
top guy is Jake DeGrom.
Oh,
well,
98.9 mile an hour on his fourth seam.
good
That's
guess.
the
Yeah.
average.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a 101s on several occasions.
And Dustin
heard
May from the Dodgers only.
That's what I was thinking of. Dustin May.
Yeah, he's a 98.5 at number 2.
I think I heard, did you tell me the DeGrom stat that the Mets have blown 31 of his games that he left winning?
That's something crazy.
Like he should have 30 more. He should have 30 more wins than he has.
Yeah. That's just over the last 3 seasons.
I thought you were the one that actually brought that stat.
Maybe it was. Oh.
Actually.
Listen, I got Quest Tech. That's it. I'm done for the day. And I got and I got Major League Baseball owns Rawlings.
Yeah, that was impressive.
There's 2. I'm done. I can leave now.
All right.
All this stuff. We talk about. The StatCast and all of the the pitching exit velocity or average fastball velocity. Talk about hitting exit velocity and distance. We're talking about the technology and the tools that are used in the game of baseball right now, and there's a lot to be said for what's going on with training, in season, preseason, all that stuff. So, Mike, I know you wanted to touch upon a couple of things right there.
Yeah, just it's. Again, I think everything's just a sign of the times. I really do. There's some baseball purist in me. You know what I mean? Like I never want to get rid of the wood bat. There's certain things that I don't want to be touched. I don't want the size of the field or anything like that to be changed. The mound, I want to stay the same. But I do like that they're coming up. They're at least trying to come up with different ways to draw more fans to the sport, to make it a little bit more exciting. I say all the time that this isn't said enough, I think, by people who have a wide audience in baseball, is that, it is a slow sport until the ball's hitting, and it's the fastest sport in the world. It's super fast. And that's the exciting. That's what we're waiting for, right? The crack of the bat is like, what happens next? Is someone going to make that play? You were talking about, Ryan, is there going to be a web gem? Someone lays out, someone climbs a wall, robs a home run, throws somebody out at the plate. Those are all exciting to even the casual fan. I was just, I don't know why they're going to mess with the ball. You know what I mean? That's all. But I mean, hitters do have a lot of advantages. They can go and, watch their last at bat right in the dugout before they get another bat against that same pitcher. They've got all these, Rapsodo and TrackMan, all these things to help understand. Like we talked about how we know what spin does to a batted ball now and how important it is. So, it's definitely changing the game. I think those things are changing the game for the better. I think that while we want to progress the game, you also want to leave well enough alone at the same time. That's my 2 cents. Kevin, what do you think?
No, I mean that's good. I mean, just when you're saying that, I'm just thinking, when did Brett hit 396? What year is that? 82, 83? I mean, does he hit 410? With the technology today.
That's the greatest argument about baseball, because people will go, no, what the pitchers are today. And then you could easily say the pitcher, well, it's watered down. There's way more pitchers.
I don't know. I saw him hit a 97-mile Goose Gossage fastball into the 5th deck at Yankee Stadium. So They were still throwing just as hard. So
I agree. I
agree. It was 1980 when he finished
1980
at 390.
390. So what's the diff? Is that 8 more hits? Does he get? Is that what that is? 10 more hits? Is he batting over 400? Probably.
Yeah. Probably not a lot.
That was 175 hits in 449 at-bats.
Wow.
So, good segue. Love that word here, the Prove It Live podcast. We use it often. Into, what we want to talk about in our main topic, which is, and I think this all ties in, right, fellas, is that the mechanical training that is available to players now with the science, with the video analysis, with things like blast motion that give you all of your bat metrics. Are going to show you exactly what your bat did, what your bat path was, how fast it was, how fast your hands were, etc. coupled with ball exit, statistics like Rapsodo, TrackMan, HitTrax. I mean, it's amazing. You can start to easily and very early on begin to see how things translate. Okay, like if my bat path is a little bit longer through the zone, my spin goes up. My top hand's a little bit better. My spin rate elevates. I get more distance, etc. So the training, the things that's available to instructors and coaches to train their athletes has never been better. And even with that said, there's still, Kevin, a pretty big lack of skill training. And since it's season time, our seasons have begun here. Travel ball, we talked about high school beginning next week. Our travel ball seasons are underway. And I was reminded of a couple things over the last couple of weeks. One of them is that, with sustainability, right? So that without the proper training, without proper mechanical training, postural training, Kevin, that success will not translate. What do I mean by that? You could see a 12-year-old kid, 11-year-old, 12-year-old kid, even a 13-year-old kid. They're physically mature, right? They're more mature than their buddies, their teammates, their opponents. They're 5'9", right? They've grown quite a bit faster than everyone else. With the bats that they use, and there's more technology there, right? So they use these drop 7, drop 5, and down to 12, they drop 12, bats, length to weight ratio. That's length to weight ratio
crazy.
for anyone that knows, right? So if a bat is 32 inches, it's 20 ounces, 20, right? On average, a wood bat's -2, so a 32-inch bat is 30 ounces. So they have these glorified wiffle ball bats. They're physically mature. They're facing fastballs that are not above 60 to 5 miles an hour max. You'll see at 13, and they crush. And everyone talks about how great these kids are. And it's not helping the kid, because that kid's going to think, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm this excellent player, but it's not sustainable without the proper mechanics. When he finally has to use a real bat and has to face a real fastball, he's not going to be able to do it because his swing's terrible. Right. He doesn't have a mechanically sound swing. So I know, Kevin, we talk about it, how important it is to start getting these kids to understand this stuff early. Right. So learning how to squat. Right. I mean, you get athletes all the time, Kevin. I mean, how many of them know how to, when they walk in the door, right? Let's say it's even a 15, 16-year-old kid. How many of them know how to squat properly and to depress their scaps? Like, average. How many out of 100?
0.
There you go. Right. So, I mean,
so I can even tell you a story. I mean, I trained an Olympic athlete, and when he was in Bellator fighting championship. So, Olympic Training Center, Colorado Springs, Jimmy Pedro Judo, Wakefield, Massachusetts. Jimmy Pedro, before Ronda Rousey, was the highest Olympic medalist at a silver medal. Guy couldn't do a squat. Couldn't do a proper squat, always hurting his back, right? So you can imagine, he finished 8th in the Olympics, Rick Hahn, 2008. Can you imagine if he knew how to do a proper squat? Maybe that 8th place finish is a medal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But I filmed this, pushed, got in a squat like I usually do, and, tap on their shoulder and boom, down on their butt they go. I mean, that's the same test I do with pretty much everybody. And yeah.
So why is it? Why is that, Kev?
Because there's a lot of people who market better than me, better than you, better than all of us together, who get in these magazines, get on YouTube, this is why we have this podcast, get on social media and say this is the way they do it. They can't prove it live. They can't do anything like they can't. And that's when people, get hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of views. I mean, I just look at case in point. The Gatorade commercial with Abby Wambach and is that the sprinter there from, what's the sprinter's name? Usain Bolt? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're doing a wall sit. A wall sit. Are you on national TV? Are you crazy? So someone sees that and says, "Wow, that's a great exercise for me to do." Some 12-year-old kid. So it's just it's. We talk about science. It's not based in science because they're asking the wrong people.
So what happens, because I know, and, I learned this from you, and then I've seen it 1,000 times since then. We're designed to squat perfectly.
Of course.
Right? In fact, when we do it without
Go look at any toddler, anyone that have children. Look at old toddler pictures. You'll see your little toddler down, butt to heels, playing with blocks, sitting there for hours at a time.
Yep.
Hours.
Yep. Yeah, that's like it was almost like a natural sit position, rest position, right? So what happens over between that moment and 17? Because we're talking about athletes. These kids can run fast, they can jump high, right? What happens? Why do they lose that?
Levers. When you have a little 3-year-old, the torso and their legs are, you'd say their torso is probably even longer than their legs. So when we start to grow longer levers, that's one. We don't have the core stability. We start to get taller and we start to get growth spurts. Our body doesn't really catch up, or the muscles don't catch up with the development of our body. And, that's one. Habit, laziness, looking at other people. It's easy to bend over and then to squat down as we get taller. And it just kind of circles from there. Absolutely. But then bad advice, what's the worst advice ever? Bend your knees first.
Right.
I mean, you can go anywhere right now and find. I just have a physical therapist company owned by a physical therapist redoing my website. Sent me a pre-done tips thing. What does the back thing say? The back. Lift with your knees. Yeah, I had no. We sat in the same school. You know what I'm saying? No, that's the worst advice on the planet. So it's just all of that.
So is this something that has gotten worse? In other words, 30 years ago, out of the 100 people, would you assume that half know how to do it right? Or is it still 0 30 years ago?
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not 0. It would be higher than that because of one thing which I'm always advocating: play. Kids do not go out and play. Okay, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Kids can barely stand on one foot. All of us on this podcast could emulate any batting stance, could shoot free throws, could move, could shoot threes like Larry Bird. We emulated our stars. We went out to the playground, and that's what we did. That's not happening now. They're on their phone. They're on video games. There's no one being Big Papi. There's no one being Mookie Betts. No one's doing that. You learn how to move by emulating others.
Right. Well, I also thought too, what I was getting at is I feel like we just do a lot more sitting down too than we
tons of sitting down, all of that. So there's never one right answer. There's a bunch of buckets. Add them all up, and you got a pool of poop.
Yep. And so it's interesting because we see it on our end, right? So Ryan and I, Ryan can test this too. So we have a lot of times we get these kids. They're not even the undersized kids, just the kids that haven't really matured yet. Right. And I love playing this game where, I'm sure Ryan, you ran into teams last year with this because, Ryan coached a 12-year-old group last year, and you show up and the kids on the other, they don't even look like the same species. They're just monsters. Right. And you look out across the crowd of the parents.
One on my team.
There is one in his team. But you look out across the crowd of parents and you go, I don't see a bunch of 6'8", 6'9" people over there. So that's not going to continue. That curve isn't going to continue.
No.
And so and then we have these kids that are, like I said, I don't want to call them undersized, but they're just normal size. They just haven't grown yet. Right. And getting them to understand that, hey, look, I know right now you see these other guys, the swings aren't great. They're hitting, tanks. Their swings are a lot more mechanically sound. They use their body well. They use their legs. And, but a kid might tie into a ball and it's like a routine liner out to the left fielder. And getting them to understand that, hey, sooner or later, right, within the next 2-3 years, and for us, I've seen, in our experience, it's that 14U year, they all sprout up. And those kids that were the small than those big ones are going to leapfrog all those kids. They're going to leapfrog perhaps 70-75% of the kids out there. They think, these excellent players, those mechanics aren't as strong. And conversely, the sad part about it is those other kids who are big and were enjoying all the success without the mechanics, but because of their size, all of a sudden might think they now stink. Wow, I don't know, I used to be good at this game, but I guess I'm just not anymore. And the reality is it just comes down to proper training, proper teaching. This is a skilled sport. This is something you learn how to be good at. There's a reason why, if you break down any major league swing, you take 2 random major leaguers and there's going to be, 95, 98, 99% of those swings are going to be identical. all the constants. You're going to have these constants within the swing that are going to be the same, and that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence.
Yeah. I came across, and maybe Ryan can look this up a while ago, or maybe it was mentioned on TV, that the actual kids in the United States who make it in the Little League World Series, like actually play in the tournament, the amount that translates to playing in high school baseball is an alarming downward number. Like, I don't know what the number is, but it's alarming how many kids at 12 are essentially the best of the 12-year-olds in their area do not translate into them playing or succeeding in high school baseball.
Crazy.
It was for one reason or another, injury, whatever, like sustainability, that they're 5'2", and when they become 6 feet they can't play anymore, and vice versa.
Yeah, I think we see more vice versa because, again, the big kids, these bats that they're swinging, like we talked about, like they just all arms, they can hit a ball out of a Little League field.
Right.
You ever watch? I know we didn't have it last year, but the Little League World Series. It's gotten ridiculous. Like, they got to change that field. That was started, like, kids have just gotten bigger.
Well, the bats have changed, too. Like you said, they didn't have drop 12s back in when we used to watch it. Like, when, what was the kid's name? From Kirkland, Washington. I remember hit these, like, monster home runs when we were little. Yeah.
With metal bats, not alloy.
Yeah,
metal.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the bats have changed, but also the kids have gotten bigger. Like, they look like they are in a miniature field, but they look like it. The kids, by the time they get to the World Series, these kids are just huge. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely different in that area. But we see the bigger kids with the bad mechanics and these insane bats that don't learn properly. And by the time you get to 15 years old, it's hard to really fix a 15-year-old. It takes years to develop this. And the earlier and the younger you start to learn it properly, the better off you're going to be. Because by the time you get to 15, are we going to maybe have you on point by senior year? It's too late by then.
Right.
Anyway, so super important. We talk about it all the time, but like we talk about mechanics. I just thought it was time that we really talk about why they're so important and why they're especially important at the younger age levels, and why we don't care about, winning. I think, I think that, I know for me, obviously it's on my program, but what made me start it was just that is we don't care about the wins at the younger ages. It shouldn't matter. Winning ultimately becomes a byproduct of good training. And, but when it actually matters, when winning does finally matter. But my advice, who cares if your 12-year-old's winning games, if he or she is improving, getting better, continue to love the game, like eventually he's going to see a lot of success. And sooner or later, like I said, leapfrog a lot of the players that might be the quote unquote stars now, who are just stars because of their size. Yeah. All right. Ryan.
Real quick, there are 16 active Major League Baseball players. And I know that's not the exact site you're looking for, Kev, but 16 active Major League Baseball players who played in the Little League World Series.
Say that again. How many? 16?
16 active MLB players played in the Little League World Series.
That's interesting. I think that's high.
I think it is too.
High because the total list.
The total list is small. It's not large.
It's a little over 50. Yeah.
The cool stat about
50 people that have played in the Little League World Series have gone on to play in Major League Baseball, and 16 of them are active. So
we know. Do you know the one kid who played in the Little League World Series that went on to play in the NHL?
No.
I think
Drury.
I know this.
Drury.
Yes, I knew that.
Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
There are a few that played in the Little League World Series, College World Series, and Major League World Series. One of them being Jason Varitek.
He's the only one.
Is he? I think is he the only one? He might be the only one.
There are a few that have played in the Little League World Series and Major League World Series. Varitek might be the only one that did all three.
He is.
No, Michael Conforto did it as well.
Okay.
Played with Oregon State, and then
fact checking you. I don't buy it.
The Ducks. No, Oregon's the Ducks. Oregon State's, I don't know what they are.
Let's see.
Pac-10 doesn't count, right? Do they count for anything? Or Pac-12, whatever they're called now.
Yeah, why do they keep changing conferences? I'm all set with that.
Well, because they keep adding teams. You can't call the Pac-10 the Pac-10 if there's 12.
Didn't one of the conferences do that for a while, though?
Did
like the Big 12 like one of 11 teams?
I think the Big 10 are like 32 teams. They still call it the Big 10.
Yeah.
Like there's actually one other one, so there's three. Ed Vosberg. Everybody remembers Ed Vosberg.
Oh,
right?
yes, I have his card.
Yeah, Little League World Series in 1973 from Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
In the Little League World Series, the College World Series for Arizona in 1980.
Yeah, sure.
And then played in the Major League World Series for somebody. I don't know. He played for like 8 teams, so I don't know which one it was. But
Feeling a lot of mistrust right now. I know that one of like Jason Veritek's baseball cards or something says that he's the only one.
he may be the only one to win all three.
Oh.
But there were three people to play.
He won a World Series?
Yeah.
Did he won
also
the
caught the most. I think he's caught the most no hitters in Major League Baseball history as well.
Yeah.
All right, enough Red Sox talk. God, let's go on to something else.
That makes sense. He's also the only person on the planet to whip A-Rod's ass on live TV.
Wow.
He also
A-Rod's not a Yankee. Don't shine up. We should have gave him to you.
He also lived with my uncle. My uncle was his host family when he played
the Cape?
The Cape League, yes.
Nice. Did he play in the Cape League Championship too? That will really sum it all up.
That'd be kind of nuts.
It becomes like the Bill Russell of baseball.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So on to why would you do that? Everybody's favorite segment here, right?
Oh, we have a question first.
Oh, we got our question.
There we go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Every week someone's out of order.
I know.
You're out of order.
You are out of order. This is ridiculous.
Podcast is out of order.
This is insane.
So Mike actually has the question of the week in front of him here.
Yeah. So Kevin, I knew you would love this one, and I know you have a visual for us for it.
I believe it's up.
Ready?
Do we see it?
We do, but hold on. Are you ready for the question?
Yes. Let me hear
I know. What is the difference between air quotes good pain and air quotes bad pain? I hear that a lot.
And there's your answer. None.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have up on the screen is not a knee. Okay, you might think that that's a femur too.
When I first saw it earlier today, I thought it was a knee.
That's fit. Well, some people will. So that little bone over here that we're seeing here is a piece of a 15-year-old's elbow. All right, that's called an avulsion fracture. Avulsion means simply the tendon has ripped the bone from its place. You most often see an avulsion fracture in the elbow due to a growth plate, which is essentially a soft bone that's not quite completely filled in yet because the person is still growing. Now, the unfortunate of this, and I'm not assessing blame anywhere, is that there were numerous signs to this happening. Okay, there was alarming poor mechanics that I have heard about for 2 years. There was pain with throwing after throwing that would go away, come back, and there was, when we talk about pitch count, it only took one for this to happen. This did not happen with a bunch of pitches and then, this was a pitch thrown, the last pitch, there was a pop, and now we have this. So the bad part about this is this family went for orthopedic care. And my advice to everyone is please, please, please research who you go and see. Listen to their testimonials. I don't care if they were the team doctor of, it doesn't matter, okay? Look at their record, dig deep, okay? Because the orthopedic surgeon told this family that injury that we are all looking at would heal with rest. So when I said to this person, how is rest going to help that bone fragment go back into the exact place that it was ripped from? And then, of course, the woman, got upset, as she should, because no doctor in the world should say that should be healed with rest. You want to go to a medical provider that gives you best, worst, and middle-of-the-road scenarios. And hopefully it's not the worst, and hopefully it lies somewhere in the middle. But looking at this, I don't see how rest is going to help that avulsion fracture get back into its spot. This is a 15-year-old who's going to need some sort of surgical intervention to get this to go back in place, or it's not going to be healthy forever. So that's probably going to be some sort of Tommy John, maybe a pin. I'm not really sure. I'm not a surgeon. But I know that floating bones don't magically go back into place with rest. And there were warning signs, and people have heard of these other stupid comments like, "Are you hurt or are you injured?"
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? If you're an overhand throwing athlete and you have pain when you throw, you're hurt, you're injured, you're all of the above. You wake up the next day and your back is sore, your butt's sore. Those are big muscles. They can take it. Your joint is sore, your knee is sore, your elbow is sore, your shoulder is sore. You need to get medical attention so that I don't ever see a picture like this come across my desk. And that's the answer.
So I have 2 questions for you, Kevin. The first one was, how impressed were you when I nailed what that was when I saw it?
Mike, I got to give it to you. So Mike wants an attaboy, so I'll give him an attaboy. I sent him this picture today, and Mike came back avulsion fracture, and I was like, "Damn, he got it. He nailed it. He nailed it." But like you show this to the average Joe, and I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's a really cool right knee." Because
Mike swears that in his past life he was a doctor.
He might be. But that was that was very good that you came back with that.
So the second question, the serious question is, I know who this person is, and it seems that they were dealing with some pain for a while. Is right? And so
there was rumor, how much exactly what, but this. I don't want to be the Monday morning quarterback and say this could have been prevented. This is a horrible injury. This makes this like I look at this and I get sick to my stomach because this is like bad. Like this is now it might, you don't want to say it's the parents' fault because the kid could bury it too. He could be like, no, I'm fine.
Of course, I've seen that a lot.
We see that all the time, so we can't,
and that's not even the point. The point is that. What I'm trying to get is if you're a player and you feel something, you got to speak up. You
absolutely
have to speak up because I think part of it is we've trained as a community, the baseball community. We've sort of trained people to understand, or to believe rather, that there is good pain versus
there's no good pain. There's nothing good about. There's no good headache. Right. There's no good back pain. There's no good anything. Pain is the body's one. Pull the fire alarm saying, hey, something is wrong. And look I've sent hundreds of people to the doctor and they've came back and with clean MRIs. Great. Yep. I'm a jerk. I wasted an hour of your time. Right. Right. Sorry. Yeah. Right. But rather than one, for every 100, we don't want one that looks like this.
Yep. Right.
We're kind of, I think we're kind of coming out of, but, for the longest time, it's been like the suck it up mentality, right?
Can't do that.
Suck it up, deal with it, right?
Well, even Ryan, you look at the
rub
training.
Some dirt on it, right? That's the old baseball expression.
Right. Now, I don't pretend to know everything that this person's trainer does. Not this kid, but the person I'm about to talk to, which is a 44-year-old, or 45-year-old, extremely non-athletic football quarterback that's still playing in the National Football League, that except for one freak lineman rolling into his knee, would be injury-free for this entire career.
Yeah.
And what do they do to? What do they do to him? They criticize him constantly. Yeah. They talks pliability because he knows how everything in today's training is about acceleration. Okay, pitching is a decelerating movement. Okay, so the arm doesn't come out and hit the guy in the front row. Very few people are teaching how to fall, how to land, how to avoid injury. Like these NBA players, you'll see that you'll see him fall on their rear end. And goes, he flopped. No. Rewind that film 2 frames, and you're going to see him go up for a rebound, come down almost on someone's foot, and rather than drive his ankle into the ground, he falls on his rear end because he knows how to fall. He knows where his body is in space. These kids don't know where their body is in space. They don't know how to decelerate because all we push, but everything's push is velocity, faster, stronger. Well, we got to put the brakes on sometime. That's a bad break, what we just saw. No pun intended.
No, we've seen that, and that's, especially, with open growth plates. That's a big thing. I've actually seen an avulsion fracture of the hip. That happened to a kid, 14 at the time. And same thing. It's like there was pain leading up, but it's like, well, it's not. And sometimes too, as you get this, no, it's not your ulnar collateral ligament. So they go, okay, so I'm good. Or no, it's not your labrum. Okay, I'm good. Right. And it's like, no, there's other things that could be going on. And, you want to think of the long term, and there's never a need anymore to think that you have to play. And look, we're not talking about because look, there's some soft baseball players out there. Let's be honest, right? So they got a bad bone bruise because they got hit by a pitch in the thigh, and
or they saw somebody get hit by a pitch.
Right, exactly. That's it. But especially in overhand throws, pitchers specifically, make sure that you're speaking up if you feel anything whatsoever. And the worst case scenario is you miss a day and you get it checked out, and now you have the comfort of knowing that you're good. And if not, you catch something early on, then maybe it is just rest. You just rest, calm it down. Good.
I tell these parents this. As far as I know, you can't get a college scholarship at 13 or 14.
Right.
But you could blow one.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Good idea. Good point. Well said. All right. It is time for.
Go ahead, buddy.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? I love that.
All right. So we have another special. Why would you do that? And so just to give everyone a heads up, right? So we said this several episodes back. It's the easiest part of the show to just procure content for, and
we do a whole hour-long show on
just on Twitter
these things, right? Yeah,
just on Twitter, just on what I've seen this week on Twitter.
Exactly, right. And so we want to keep it kind of fresh and mixed up, and we had Kevin's breakdowns the last 2 weeks, which I thought were awesome. They're really well done. People seem to really enjoy that. Got a lot out of it. So this one's a little bit different in the sense that we're not showing you a video. It's something that, again, season's underway, something that I've seen personally. I think Ryan has definitely, if not already this year, you've seen it in years past. And Kevin, you've probably seen it too. And it is the way I because I mostly, this is not all, but I have mostly seen this in the Northeast. And it's almost the football-minded approach to coaching baseball and softball. And what I'm talking about is, those hardo coaches out there that are
really aggressive
at kids, screaming at them, 12-year-old kids, and oftentimes girls. We saw it over the weekend in one of our softball games. And there's first of all, you can look it up. The research will show you that it does not work. You're not going to motivate a kid, 12-year-old boy, 12-year-old girl, by screaming at them and reminding them that they just dropped the ball. If a kid drops a ball and you scream, catch the ball, they're not going to go, oh,
my bad.
That's what you want me to do.
I knew it. See?
That's what this thing's for, the ground thing.
I didn't know that's what the part of the game was.
That's right. I was wondering why I was wearing this thing.
Yeah. Right? Is that what it was for? Throw strikes.
That too.
Because I want to throw balls.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, had you told me that before the game, right? So,
plus, there's a whole other argument that we can talk about on the whole throw strikes thing. Sometimes you want to throw a ball. Anyway, we won't get into that.
But what we're getting at here is that, look, and we talked about it before, coaching in baseball and softball, it's not football where it's a big chess match. You have to know how to personalize. Yeah, and you do have the players where you do have to, light a fire on them a little bit, right? But that's not the way, and especially not in the moment, in the middle of the game, right as it's happening. It just doesn't work. What you're going to do is you're going to make that player sort of fall back into a shell, be afraid to go after the ball next time because they don't want to get yelled at again, right? You're going to actually there's going to be a negative return on that approach, and all you're going to do is make some kid not have less enjoyment and confidence in that game. And I'm not, anyone that knows me, and obviously Ryan and Kevin here do, I'm not the complete softy coach who's only always talking about, positives and niceties, right? We want to make sure that you're learning and that you understand that maybe there's a better way to approach that ball, and maybe, you didn't get behind it or whatever, but there's a way to do that, right? There's
very simple. Pull them aside.
That's it.
You would never yell at him. Mike, would you ever go into the middle of your facility screaming at Ryan because he left the lights on last night? Like
Once, maybe.
Once, maybe, right? Pull the child aside.
Won't do it again. I'm sorry.
Right. Pull the child aside so you're not only are you yelling, but you're first of all, you're embarrassing the kid and you're embarrassing yourself in front of everybody. Just pull the kid aside. Okay, look, this is what happened.
Too.
Right. This is what happened.
It's like,
find out what were you thinking? Well, I was thinking, okay, well, blah 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 blah. Get back in there. Let's do it again.
Yep.
And unfortunately, what happens too, like you think you just hit on it, is you just make it all about you. The field, everyone on the field stops. All eyes are drawn to you.
Yes.
The one guy, you become the loudest guy in the field, or girl. I've seen women do this too, right? Female coaches. And just, and you immediately feel bad for the kid, obviously. But it really makes everybody feel awkward, and that's what you want to avoid. So
I've literally seen, and I think Mike might have been at one of these games too. I mean, I've seen umpires go, stop the game, go over to the coach and say, hey, like, you need to tone it down. That's, whatever your coaching style is, like, you can't talk to kids that way when I'm here. They'll try to keep them in check. I've seen it happen numerous times.
And then they'll usually turn and scream at the umpire, right?
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
But I can't, say anything there because I may or may not have done that a few times. But
we've all been thrown out of a game.
Ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. Like, I think we don't see it as much, thankfully. Like, there is less of that, but they're still out there. And, and by the way, parents, absolutely. I mean, if that's my kid, I would want to address how they address my player in a situation like that too. Again, there's things you gotta give the coach autonomy. You gotta let he or her do their thing. But something like that, like, there's no need for it. No need for it at all. And at the end of the day, we're trying to promote the games of baseball and softball and not scare kids away from it. So.
And I mean, we can call back to an episode from a few weeks ago when we had Jeff Levin on. I mean, Jeff could do a whole hour-long segment on this topic alone, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe it's something worth revisiting at some point.
Yeah.
All right.
Having Jeff back on in May, I think, is when he's coming back.
Perfect.
All right, fellas.
Hey, Ryan and I have an announcement. Next Wednesday, we will be teamed up in a non-sport activity for our Wednesday night golf league, and we will share what happened on next Thursday's podcast. So
yes,
stay tuned.
Wait,
we might have to be in separate golf carts. I don't know if they have structural integrity.
Oh my God.
Hold.
You have to have McPherson struts in that thing.
Yeah, let's see. What's the hold on, let's get a WWE combined weight of that. So
we're gonna come as a tag team.
It's gonna be question marks. Like,
I was 267 this morning. Ryan,
we're gonna look like the natural
305 at least. Right?
No.
That's a combined weight of 572. That's a big golf team.
The natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon back in the late 80s. I'm sure you remember them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, just to call back something Kev, you brought up something earlier when we were talking about that George Brett stat line. How many more hits?
Yeah.
He was, like I said, he was 175 for 449.
Okay.
Had he squeezed out 5 more hits in those 449 at bats, that would have jumped him up from 390 to 400 on the nose.
No kidding.
5
wow.
hits. And you think through the course of a baseball season, how many times, they say baseball's a game of inches, right? You square up a ball and you hit it right at somebody. Had it gone a few inches here or there, that's 5 extra hits, right?
Well, this is what that stat right there is what pisses me off about these guys not hitting against the shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Just
how many games? Not only how many wins, right? So how many wins? How many teams miss out on the playoffs by 2 games?
Yeah.
Right.
They could have had a guy, get on base and move over into scoring position.
Right.
Things like that.
The shift is there because players won't adjust to it, and I'd continue to do it. I'd put everyone on one side. If just have the whole team on the one side. Put the first baseman. That's it.
Yeah, you do it enough, then they're going to stop doing it, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Stands to reason. It would stand to reason. Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, good show. That was good.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for our 20th episode, our special 6:30 p.m. episode. It's dark out. Look at this.
It is dark. Almost dark. Yeah. It's almost. Oh, it's darker.
A bit of window there.
Yeah. You guys don't pay for. Yeah. It's darker there. Live in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, guys.